It's a trap. Marvel Studios is setting up a trap. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, Marvel Studios said that not only is Daredevil going to be part of the MCU, but he will be in the series called Daredevil Born Again. Comic fans, especially Daredevil fans, know and understood what this title means, and we're starting to get hyped. Here's the problem though. As of most things with the MCU, when they adapt storylines, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Either it'll be in name only or may sort of only touch a couple of the themes of said storyline. Case in point, Thor Ragnarok and its comic equivalent, as well as their masterization of Planet Hulk. But that's a whole nother story. So I didn't expect much will be taken from the 1980s Frank Miller written story other than the name and a couple of scenes. But hey, let's take a look at the original work anyway. But first, a brief recap on Daredevil's origin. It's close enough. Here's what the back of the graphic novel says. The definitive Daredevil tale by industry legends Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Karen Page, Matt Murdock's former lover, has traded away the man without fear's secret identity for a drug fix. Now Daredevil must find the strength as the kingpin of crime wastes no time taking him down as low as a human can get, collecting Daredevil issues 226 to 233. The story begins with us seeing what looks like a Mad Max version of a samurai beating the crap out of a guy. While this is happening, Matt's friend and law partner Foggy Nelson has a meet cute with a woman named Glory. Due to recent events, their law firm is shutting down. It seems that the half-naked man is a former client of theirs named Melvin Potter, aka the Gladiator. Elsewhere, Matt is sulky on a ward tower going over his troubles, and then he has a memory about his old teacher Stick, which amounts to suck it up and take accountability and stop blaming everyone for your troubles. It seems he's not ready to hear that, especially after he hears that Melvin is at it again. Wait, Foggy and Glory are having a date? And they discuss the change in Matt's attitude lately. It looks like Glory was dating Matt, but after several personal losses, he started to change. Man, Foggy is laying a serious amount of game on her. But you know, maybe he shouldn't be saying this right here. The next couple of pages go back and forth between Matt blaming everyone else for his problems and Foggy and Glory's date. Man, I bet 90% of men would want to have a woman look at them the same way that Glory is looking at Foggy right now. While still in the mood at their old office, Matt receives a desperate message from Melvin. Once he meets up with Melvin in his gladiator getup, he just proceeds to beat the crap out of him, just not even wanting to listen to his reasons. After Melvin gets whopped, he begs Daredevil to save his wife, I think? It seems that he put on the armor again because he wanted to save her, but he's in no shape to do it. It's taken a while, but finally Matt is out of his head, for at least a moment, and he's ashamed for how he's been acting. They team up and track her down and are able to save her. While they save her, Matt still seems to feel a bit unsettled. In a seedy, smoke-filled, barely lit room, a cracked-out adult actress is offering a man some information. The lady is Matt's former girlfriend and his and Foggy's former secretary, Karen Page. She's giving up Daredevil's secret ID for a hit. This information unfortunately makes its way to Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin of Crime. Fisk decides to test the information out. Elsewhere, Matt wakes up at home and checks his mail thinking that it's a bunch of job offers. Nah, it's just a ton of bills instead. You know, somewhere Peter Parker is laughing his head off. Things go worse for him while on the phone with his accountant who quits. Glory leaves a message breaking up with him. Gee, let me guess who she's gonna end up with. I'm not saying she doesn't have a good reason to break up with Matt, but possibly then hooking up with his closest friend isn't cool, man. Even more crap is dumped on him when he gets a subpoena saying that he paid off a witness to perjure himself. While that's happening, Foggy meets up with Glory, but her apartment has been ransacked. Meanwhile, at the Daily Bugle, Matt's newsman friend Ben Urich on the AP wire got the information about Matt facing bribery, perjury, and misconduct charges. When he tries to call and talk to Matt, Matt just laughs and hangs up on him. Spoiler, Matt won't be laughing for much longer. Matt finds out that the bank is about to foreclose on his home, so he decides to make the rounds as Daredevil. While that's happening, Glory's at Foggy's place because she didn't feel safe at hers, and she starts to come on to him. Realizing this, he decides it's bedtime, but he'll take the couch. That last image of Glory, I'm imagining she's thinking, I want you to take something else. An honest cop named Nick implied that Matt paid someone off, so he, as Daredevil, visits him at home and asks Nick why he lied. Nick's response? Attacking Red with a broken bottle. Matt immediately leaves, but once he does, Nick calls one of the Kingpin's goons and tells him what happened. Apparently they made a deal with him that if he lies, then they'll pay for his son's medical treatment. Just goes to show you that everyone has a price. Matt heard the entire conversation. When he goes home, his power and telephone are turned off. He does manage to contact Foggy from a phone booth and gives him the lowdown of the situation. You know what's interesting about Fisk tearing apart Matt's life? It's not him taking glee in seeing his deterioration, but it's that he still has no hard proof, only circumstantial, that Matt's Daredevil. What's really disturbing isn't that he's enjoying it, is that if he found out that Matt wasn't Daredevil, it wouldn't even matter. Wilson Fisk is just that trash of a human being. Sometime later, Foggy does his best to defend Matt in court, and while Matt doesn't get any prison time, he does get disbarred. Fisk likes this decision and even considers that in the future, he may even hire Matt Murdock after he goes through even more poverty and shame because he wants him to know just how powerless he is compared to him. However, Fisk can't help himself. He wants to deliver the killing stroke but says he has to deny himself of it. Sure buddy. Somewhere else, Karen's running like a mad woman being chased by a guy firing at her. Her only thought? Matt. Matt can save her. Really, Lay? Really? You destroyed his life in order to get a hit and now you want him to help you? Ugh. While that's happening, Matt's about to enter his house, which will be repossessed soon, and he's thinking irrationally that maybe multiple enemies are after him, like the IRS, Ma Bell, now AT&T, Con Ed, and Glory. He thinks Foggy is in on the conspiracy against him as well. He thinks that until his brownstone blows up right in front of him. Amongst the rubble, he finds his costume and immediately knows who's behind this. Matt calls and leaves a confusing message for Foggy. We next see Matt in a tiny room trying to figure out his next step, to murk the Kingpin or not. We next see Wilson Fisk looking out into the sea. He says that he sees Daredevil as a mere annoyance, a fly, and Wilson is basically a little kid torturing the fly for mild amusement. However, just like Matt has been obsessed all this time, so has Fisk. Fisk can just stop right now, but no. He wants to torture Matt more and have him torn limb from limb for his own pleasure. Matt, still stuck in his head and an $8 hotel room, is going round and round. Should he call Foggy again? Go after the Kingpin? Eat? Go to the gym? Or just sleep? After choking out the hotel manager thinking that the Kingpin sent him, he didn't. Wilson Fisk is being given the rundown of every single movement of Matt so far. Matt's now off the edge. While on the train, he's attacked by some violent youths, but he takes them out as well as a cop, and he steals the cop's billy club. Fisk knows that Matt's on his way to fight him. Before that, Matt calls Foggy again and delivers more ramblings. But in panel 4, I think it's pretty obvious that this time he never called Foggy. He was just talking to himself. Somewhere else, Karen's trying to contact Matt, but the operator says that his line's been disconnected. I wonder if Karen considers this karma for all the trouble she's caused so far. During all this, Ben Urich is trying to convince J. Jonah Jameson to write a story on the Kingpin and Matt Murdock thing. Matt arrives at Fisk Industries and proceeds to get mollywopped by a fat man in a Speedo. Now, instead of just outright killing him, Fisk has his men put Matt in a taxi and then dump it into the river to leave him to die. He didn't want to make Matt's death mysterious or suspicious. Yeah, make it look like a desperate man tried to delete himself. Matt goes missing in the public eye for weeks. There's just one problem. The cab was discovered, but there is no corpse. The issue opens with an unconscious Matt recapping his origin story and background under several pages of text. We next see Foggy and Glory on a date. Are they official now? A thief tries to rob her, but Foggy strikes the thief in the face with either a bowling ball or a cannonball. Somehow the thief doesn't die and just runs away. Ben-Hur continues investigating his Matt Murdock Kingpin story and leads him to Bellevue Hospital, where the honest cop Nick is there with his sick son. Ben tells him he knows why he did, and he's not the first cop to go bad. Yeah, and he's certainly not going to be the last. The irony here is that it looks like Nick's son may not even make it through the night. So congratulations, you became a crooked cop, played a major role in destroying a good man's life, and your son is still most likely going to die under the same time frame as before. So all of that for nothing. It's now Christmas Eve and Karen is stumbling around town getting attacked by drugged out homeless people. I wonder, did the Kingpin put out a hit on her too, or is this just Karen's paranoia running wild? While that's happening, Matt is getting hit by a car and robbed by Santa and his little helper. On a happier note, Foggy tells his mom on the phone he's gotten some job offers and met a new girl. Back at Bellevue, Ben finds out that Nick's son just died. Finally, Nick starts to admit to everything, but I don't know, there's something very suspicious about that nurse. Meanwhile, Matt is currently strolling the streets with a wound in his stomach, and Karen is having a meeting with a fan, which is interrupted when a couple of gentlemen come to retrieve her. Matt makes it to Hell's Kitchen looking for something. Meanwhile, Foggy is giving Glory a new necklace. Yeesh, they're really moving fast. Yes, I get by this point it's been over a month, but still. Elsewhere, Ben and Nick are talking. Nick is showing some regret when he says, sold out, 29 years without fixing a ticket and I sell out and doesn't even save my boy. Yep, pretty much. At that moment, the hulked out nurse Ratchet reveals that she works for the Kingpin. She proceeds to break Ben's fingers on one of his hands and tells him, every time you speak the name Matthew Murdock, you shall lose the use of your fingers. Isn't the healthcare model do no harm? So she doesn't kill him, but she allows him to see what she does to honest cop Nick. I'm guessing the father is about to meet up with the son. Matt's current goal is to get back to his father's place and his father's gym. He collapses and is found by none. While that's happening, it looks like Karen is selling herself for more smack. I gotta wonder, just what did she think if she ever did find Matt, that he's going to, one, forgive her, and two, snap his fingers, making her life instantly better? Well, considering this is Matt we're talking about, number one is probably unfortunately a given. One of the best parts of this issue is when we get inside of the Kingpin's head, where the same words keep going through his mind. There is no corpse. Someone who he said was only an annoyance and inconvenience is now a problem. He did everything he could to break him, and yet Matt just keeps getting up and moving forward. Fisk realizes that Matt has always been a bigger threat than he was willing to admit. Matt said it best in a line later in the story. I have shown him that a man without hope is a man without fear. Several things are happening in rapid succession. Matt wakes up in a church surrounded by nuns. Karen is some drug guy's plaything, wishing and hoping that Matt will save her despite her ruining his life. Fisk is training in his Speedo. Foggy gets a new job and makes more money than he or Matt ever did. Ben is writing a copy in his head since his fingers are, well, you know. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the right sound effect for that. Karen is slowly making her way to New York City. Fisk is sending someone to finally finish off Matt, and Ben-Hur is maybe experiencing PTSD because of what happened to him, which is completely understandable. Karen is finally able to reach Foggy by phone, and they set up a meeting to catch up. Matt is still being taken care of by Sister Maggie and the rest of the nuns at the church. but specifically by Maggie. Ben has a chat with J. Jonah Jameson. Ben wants to give up on the Murdoch Kingpin story, and Jonah just rips him a new one by delivering the best, worst pep talk ever. But you know what? The Daily Bugle janitor gives him an even worse pep talk. This issue is different from the previous ones because we jump around to everyone else's stories for just a moment, and it's obvious why. Very soon, they're all going to converge on one another. Matt is still being taken care of at that church, and Karen is being knocked around by her Don. At the Bugle, Ben is still trying to save his neck and his wife's by doing just fluff pieces. It's at that moment that he gets a call from the crooked cop Nick. He's finally ready to come clean and tell his entire story. Unfortunately for old Nick, Nurse Ratched decides to give them both a very special message. Elsewhere in some club, Karen meets up with Foggy. She reveals to him that she's a cornstar junkie. She's looking for Matt to protect her. Foggy tells her what's been going on lately and that Matt's missing. Okay, I know that she's out of her mind right now, but why would she ever think that Matt would be able to save her? Or even want to save her. Yeah, exactly. Why would he want to save her once he finds out that she betrayed him? What, for old time's sake? That is, even if she ever does tell the part that she played in it. And there's a good chance that she wouldn't. After learning what happened to him, she was about to reveal to Foggy what she actually did, but she chickens out. Despite that, Foggy gives Karen a place to stay. Will this all blow up in Foggy's face? You bet it will. Ben Urich keeps replaying Nick's death in his head over and over again and keeps remembering what Nurse Ratched said to him. Still fearful to even say Matt's name, he even stopped his wife from saying it. Until finally, while sitting on a park bench, he takes off his cast and says, Matt Murdock. While that's happening, some of Kingpin's goons go over to the former gladiator Melvin Potter's costume shop to give him a choice. Make an exact duplicate of the Daredevil costume, or they'll demolish his shop and start removing his body parts. Well, at least they were nice and eloquent while saying it. The issue ends with Matt's fever finally breaking and awakens. He thanks Sister Maggie and then asks a very simple question. Maggie, are you my mother? She says, hell no, sonny boy. He's like, you know you lying. Sometime later at Fogwell's gym, Matt is pounding the bag. While that's happening, the Kingpin is having a meeting with his counsel and one of them wants to discuss about the Matt Murdock issue. Fisk takes it well. He gives Mr. Switzer an retirement gift for his trouble. Ben Urich is at the police station giving his statement about how Nick was about to confess about his part in framing Murdock. At that moment, Matt finds out what happened to Nick and tails Ben and a cop that's guarding him from the station to a diner. The former Nurse Ratched's real name is Lois, and she was told that she did too good of a job. Because she killed a cop, Fisk is having her relocated to Arizona. She instead decides to relocate Ben. At this point, everything is starting to get ramped up. Ben calls his wife Doris to let her know that he'll be bringing home a friend. As that's happening, Lois is knocking on her door. As soon as Ben and the officer arrive home, Lois beats the living crap out of him. Ben is able to get away and finds Doris hanging in the bathroom. Matt arrives and takes out Lois, and Ben is able to just barely save Doris. When Ben gets out of the bathroom, he sees that both the cop and Lois are unconscious. He immediately knows that Matt's back. He then gets a phone call from Melvin Potter about what's about to go down, but Ben is still in a daze, so he just hangs up on him. Fortunately, Matt was still around hiding and hears everything. At the loony bin, Fisk is getting a cuckoo crazy McStabby guy out. He plans to put him in the Daredevil costume to maybe lure Matt out perhaps. Matt is able to track down Melvin, and as soon as he gets off the phone, Matt in the darkness tells him to make another suit. Back at Foggy's place, Karen is having a severe case of withdrawal. Unfortunately for them, the guy that's been using her by the name of Paulo has also been trailing her. Is he trying to look inconspicuous? He looks like a down bad Dick Tracy cosplayer. Quick question, who is this minion for the Kingpin and why is he using $25 words? I'm willing to bet that half the people reading this comic at that time wouldn't be able to pronounce these words. I should know. I tried. Multiple times. Cops pull up on Paulo and then a gunfight starts and bullets start flying everywhere. Fisk has a couple men there making sure that Foggy and Karen don't leave the apartment. He plans to murk them and then frame Daredevil for it. That way there won't be anyone or thing for Matt left to return to. Unfortunately for Mr. Wordsmith here, the nut job decides to go off book, as well as Karen because she knocks out Foggy. Another quick question. Is it Frank Miller's intention for us to hate Karen? If so, then he's doing a really good job at it. Yes, I know she did this to protect Foggy, but still. Well, now this is a surprise. As per Fisk, he's the one that hired Foggy and now he wants him dead. Fun fact, this was going to be an important plot point for a feature storyline. However, Frank Miller won't be writing on this title for much longer, so it's going to be a long time before this plot point is resolved. Anyway, Paulo catches up with Karen but gets shot and Matt goes toe-to-toe with the bootleg Daredevil. While Paulo is dying, he tries to take out Karen too, who's searching for some fix. Luckily, Matt saves her in time. The issue ends with Ben delivering an update on what happened shortly after the shootout. Unfortunately, Paulo isn't dead, but the police put him into custody and he's facing several life sentences. The masked nut job was found naked and unconscious. Now Ben is intent on finding out where Matt Murdock is and what he has become. The issue begins in Nicaragua in a helicopter where a muscular, overly armed, American flag painted on his face man is about to save some hostages. The man is called Nuke, and this is the man that the Kingpin intends to take down Daredevil. Well, another one, the last one didn't work out. Nuke does his best impersonation of every 1980s action hero and takes out all the enemies. I mean, heck, even his gun has accounted for all of his kills. We're back with Karen and Matt. She's still crying. Looking at this page, I really hope they didn't sleep together. That would actually make things worse. In the park, Ben Urich and Foggy discuss what's been happening with Matt. You know, I like that despite everything crazy that's been happening, Foggy is gearing up to go back into court to clear Matt of all charges. Hey, fun fact. Apparently, Nuke likes a good beer, as long as it's American. Why am I not surprised that Fisk has the police commissioner in his pocket? We didn't see what's up with Matt and Karen. They seem to be living in Matt's dad's old place. We get inside of Karen's head for a bit. She feels more at peace being around Matt. While that's happening, Ben, Glory, Officer Blanders, and Coogan, and the random cop go to meet Lois to get her confession. Unfortunately for them, the Kingpin has a plant at the police station. Back at the Kingpin's home base, Fisk is laying on thick to Nuke. I noticed that Fisk said that Nuke is a super soldier. Unless he said that just to glaze him, that's interesting and would make some sense based on how he was moving earlier. Also, since the start of this issue, we keep seeing him take different colored pills. Is that to keep him both physically and mentally stable? Anyway, after prying on Nuke's patriotism, he lets him loose. Elsewhere, Matt is working at a crappy diner and tries to duck out before Ben or Glory sees him. Matt senses something weird. A helicopter, but not a normal one. It's Nuke. He doesn't just shoot up the diner, he blows it up with a freaking rocket launcher. What's worse is while he was sent to kill Urich, he's trying to take everyone in that city block out. And I'm talking about any building around him, including the one where Karen and Matt were living at. I honestly can't tell if Karen is hurt or not since she's been severely cracked out since the story began. After Nuke takes out a cop helicopter, the only one standing in front of him, Matt in his Daredevil costume. The issue opens with even more destruction. You know, with Nuke firing at Daredevil like this reminds me of a video game. Contra, maybe? Nuke continues to light up everything, creating a almost literal ring of hellfire. Nothing Daredevil does can stop him. Nuke doesn't feel any pain, his bones don't break, so Matt does the only reasonable thing. Electrocute him. Even that, and falling about 50 feet into a cop car doesn't stop him. Ben and Gloria are watching this, and she keeps getting in the way. Nuke's copter takes this opportunity to take Ben out, but they hit Gloria instead. Daredevil is able to take down the copter with one of Nuke's guns. Conveniently, the Avengers arrive. Okay, it's just the big ones, Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. And they take Nuke back. To where? Well, we'll see in a minute. Back at the Kingpin's place, he's having a business discussion with the Syndicate. It looks like hundreds of people died, but even worse, they lost a lot of money in the drug trade. Why couldn't Nuke just take out all these guys? A Mr. Glazer decides to give Fisk a piece of his mind. That was dumb to do, however, he still might be able to limp away from that, but then he decided to speak about the Kingpin's wife. And then, well, it looks like most of the injured people couldn't make it to the hospital, so they had to hold up in Sister Maggie's church. Karen's there too, but after a moment together with Matt, he darts to another building because he senses Captain America. During their quick chat, it seems Nuke is mostly man-made, partly human muscles and skeleton. His skin is made of different plastics, and he doesn't burn easily. What is he? The Bionic Man? Steve Austin? Stretch Armstrong? This case is exceptionally more personal to Cap because this guy parades around the American flag. I wonder what he thought when Norman Osborn sported one as Iron Patriot. Oh wait, Cat was dead at that time, never mind. Later on, Fisk is on the phone with a general that he has controlled under his thumb and tells him to brush this little mess away. As that's happening, Cap bursts in, wanting answers, but the general just says, nah. Not liking that response, Cap decides to get answers his own way. Elsewhere, the general is letting Nuke know that he needs to go on a little vacation outside of the States. Nuke doesn't take that well. He snaps and takes out everyone in the room minus the general. Cap, meanwhile, finds out that the government is still keeping Project Rebirth going, aka the Super Soldier Project. The government tested on 20 men, 19 died. The only survivor was an Agent Simpson, aka Nuke. You know how everything in the MCU seems to lead back to the Super Soldier program? Well, yeah, this isn't new. It was even happening in comics almost 40 years ago. Nuke is blowing everyone that's in front of him away, and this snaps Cap out of his shock, and he engages with Nuke. They wind up knocking themselves through a couple buildings, and this scene reminds me of a scene from the Kite anime. Cap recovers and tries to get Nuke to the authorities, but several copters, I'm not sure if it's government or the Kingpins, but at this point it's the same thing, start trying to remove them from the story. Daredevil arrives just in time to save them. Sorta. Matt is rushing to get Nuke to the hospital and Cap is in pursuit. Nuke doesn't make it. Daredevil was able to get Nuke's lifeless body to the Daily Bugle though. Sometime later we see a very perturbed Wilson Fisk. Everyone is against him. From former hitmen, the Daily Bugle, the government which is creating Senate subcommittees, community groups, ex-employees, and so on. Even the men that work underneath him have lost their faith in him. Despite that, most of the charges either won't stick or will be stuck in legality for years, but that's not the point. He can't ever pretend to be a simple spice seller ever again. Everyone knows his true colors, his true nature, all because of one man he thinks, Matt Murdock. The truth though is, he let his obsessive desire, his lack of control, overtake his reasoning. The story ends with a happy Matt and a noticeably more healthy looking Karen walking down the street.